Hello, I'm Rex, the Adequate Chef, and this is my cooking blog to cook my way through Julia Child's Mastering the Art of French Cooking. Today I will be starting my very first recipe, which is Boeuf Bourguignon. Now, why have I selected Boeuf Bourguignon? Boeuf Bourguignon is actually the first recipe that Julia Child herself cooked when she started The French Chef. It is also the very first recipe that Knopf Publishing tried to cook out of the book, which they also fell in love, which made the cookbook even published today. And then, of course, if you've seen Julia, that's also the first recipe that she cooked as well. So I would like to keep in the tradition of the Boeuf Bourguignon that's gone through history, and it will be the first dish that I've made as well. Now, this is a three-part video series. You have most likely already seen the first two, which would be the braising of the onions, the pearl onions, and also we have gone ahead and sauteed the mushrooms. Now, generally, the mushrooms and the onions are done while the beef stew is in the oven. But since it is technically considered three dishes within her recipe, because the onions and the mushrooms can be a typical side dish within French cuisine, I went ahead and split them up in the video series. So if you haven't watched those yet, I recommend going back and checking those out. Now, I did call it a beef stew. It's actually considered a beef fricassee. A fricassee is any time that you've actually browned the beef before you put it into the stew, which is exactly what we are going to do today. Okay, now we're going to go over the ingredients list. First and foremost, of Boeuf Bourguignon, we have our approximate 3 pounds of beef cut into 2-inch cubes. We have about 2 cloves of mashed garlic. We have, that's about a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, a tablespoon of olive oil. We have a 1/4 teaspoon of thyme. We have 1 tablespoon of a tomato paste. We have a crumpled bay leaf. I have 2 tablespoons of flour. I have a sliced carrot. I have my simmered bacon rind, about approximately 6 ounces. We have onions. We need 2 to 3 cups of a good beef stock. And if I didn't mention the wine, it is a wine stew. She mentions like a Chianti. There's definitely wines you can use. She mentioned, I believe it's Coteron, which is a French wine, very well known, very pricey. There's a South African wine, it's called Goats du Rhum, and it's actually been beating Coteron, the French wine, in actually taste tests and stuff. So for $8, I've got this. I actually got 2 bottles. Let me see, there we go. So I can drink one while I cook with the other. Like those special effects? Let's see that in slow-mo. I can drink one while I can drink cooking. Yeah, that was awesome, Rex. Thanks a lot. So at this point, we've got all of our ingredients together. I'm going to have to reposition my lights, my cameras, and everything, and we're going to move this show over to the stove, and we're going to start cooking some beef bourguignon, or should I say boeuf, as my friend Simon always says, Boeuf Bourguignon. All right, thank you. And let's go ahead and fire this baby up. Now, we want a moderately high heat, and what we're going to do is we're going to brown this bacon for approximately 2 to 3 minutes. So what I'm going to do is you can use regular cooking oil. I've chosen to use olive oil. So go ahead and pour in your olive oil. Now, I can't stress enough that you really should measure your stuff out in habit containers. Look, I know it looks good for the presentation and everything, but honestly, you really should do this and have everything lined out so you don't miss something in a recipe. It's very important, it's organized, and if you want to be a good cook, you definitely should be organized. So we're going to let this, I'm going to turn up the heat a bit. As you can see, I got pretty high heat going there, just to get it going. We don't want to just totally fry the bacon. In the kitchen, you're going to learn how to cook. We're going to take this, I was hoping to hear a little more bang. We don't hear it. It's coming up. It's getting hot. I'm going to take a slotted spoon here. We don't want this to stick. And we verify my heat. I've just moved to my new location here, and honestly, I've never, since I was a kid, I haven't cooked with gas heat before. And this is the first time, and it's difficult. It's different the way the heat comes up around the pans. So, alright, I'm going to go ahead and set my timer here. It's going to use my upper timer. Kitchen timer. Let's go 3 minutes for starting right now. And we'll start. And that's it. I'm going to kill the heat for a second. Back. I have another dish here. There goes our timer. And then we just want to take with a slotted spoon, knock off some of that grease. We want to keep the oil and the grease, and we're going to use that for our beef. Little crispy chunks of bacon. Excellente. Oui, oui. We cook the bacon, yeah? Alright. So, now, we're going straight to the beef. So we're just going to put this right back. This, again, poof. Going to be high heat. High. So we got this heat coming up. Just when the grease starts to smoke like that is what we want. Again, I'm going to dry this again. We don't want to put too much beef in here at once because we're going to need to move this stuff around. Let's turn our vent on. Turn down that heat just a little bit. I am going to move you guys back because I don't want grease on my camera because this is popping. And I can move this up just a little bit. So what we're doing, oh yeah, that meat's browning nice. Just want to brown the meat on all sides. Nice and brown. Can you see? Let me see if I can zoom in here. And then I have the fan on. And see that right there? It's nice. It is browning. It's browning very nice. Just as I wanted. Move this over here so you get a little better view. Just as Julia said it would. Alright. Turn the pot, make sure the grease is evenly distributed. Oh. Okay, we're just coming up to the end of this. I've got the remaining pieces in. Now, you generally could do this, she says to do some of this in a separate baking dish, but I'm going to cook all of this in this pan because it is what I have. Now, she says to leave the remaining fat in here, and then in the same fat here, we're going to throw in the sliced vegetables. So, carrots, we're going to toss in our onions. Whatever's left over. And I'm going to continue browning these. Drain off. There is some fat in there now. We're going to drop those into a strainer, drain that remaining off, and then I'll come back. Okay, so at this point we have our veggies. It says to return the beef and the bacon, which I'm going to plop right in. That is a lot of food. And then at this point, we're going to toss it with salt, the salt and pepper. So let's go ahead and put the salt in here.
And we're going to get our pepper. We're going to put the pepper in. Excellent. And let's toss it around. I do not have fire on at this point. We are about to go into the oven with this. Now, that's tossed. At this point, what we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle the flour on and we're going to toss this again. So let's sprinkle on the flour. I'm going to go ahead and toss this. Yep. Oh, got a piece of bacon wanting to run for the border. And so let's move this around. Toss probably means to toss it, huh? And then let's go ahead and sprinkle the remaining flour on. I can't toss it. I'm going to toss it with a spoon. Excellent. Just like that, I'm going to bring the beef sort of up to the top because what we're about to do now is we're going to put it into the oven. In the medium shelf, the oven's at 450 degrees. Push that in there, no lid, for 4 minutes. Okay, it's been 4 minutes exactly. If you've noticed, I have a clean stove. During that 4 minutes, I took that time to clean my kitchen a little bit. I videoed it, but you're probably not going to... Oh, don't grab the pot, Rex. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Alright, I'm going to toss this meat one more time. It's supposed to be sort of putting a little crust on the meat. I'm not sure it's doing that. It looks a little mealy. And we toss it, and it goes right back in the oven for another 4 minutes. See you in 4. Alright, we're coming on our second 4 minutes. I noticed that the recipe says it should have been in the upper third of the oven, which is probably why I didn't get the crispiness that I was sort of hoping to get. But nevertheless, it's been in 4 minutes. We tossed it. Now it's been in 4 more minutes. And so now I'm going to bring it back out. We're going to put it right on the stove and we're going to turn on the heat. Just like that. Now, this point is when you get, see, it's slightly crispy. 3 glasses of the wine goes in. At this point, little did I know 3 cups is a full bottle, or I wouldn't have measured it, but this is a full bottle of wine. And that's it. You can hear it gurgle. That's good. And I'm going to hold off just a little bit. Last little bit, mainly because we still need to put in our beef stock, and the beef stock should be 2 to 3 cups. So we're just going to pour this in until the meat is slightly covered. What's 2 drops, right? There we go. At this point, we're going to go ahead, I'm going to bring in our herbs and spices. Remember, we had 1/4 of a teaspoon of thyme. I'm going to put that in. 2 large cloves of crushed garlic. Put that in. 1 crumpled bay leaf. Put that in. And we had a tablespoon of a tomato paste. So I'll try to get all of that. Stir this up just a bit. Alright. We're gonna let this simmer. Remember what a simmer is? Gonna bring it up. Ouch! Damn it! Pot's hot after it's been in the oven. Second time I've done that. Whew. You can see that. It's already got a nice little red line on it from where I touched that. Right there. Hi! Haven't seen me in a while, have you? So basically, we're starting to simmer. Actually, we're about to hit a boil here. Let me turn this down. Now that it's simmering, I'm going to take a nice lid. Now, again, I wasn't planning on cooking it this way, but here, let me scroll down once again. There we go. Now, look at the juices cooking in that sucker. At this point, don't grab the pot. It's hot. I turned the oven down to 325 degrees. I'm going to take this, and in she goes, right in the center of the oven. 325 degrees for about 2.5 hours. So, oh, I guess I didn't turn that off. Let's put the timer up here to 2.5 hours. Excellent. Now, at this point in time, you think I got time to kill. Well, there's still a couple of things that I'm going to have to cook. We're still looking for some. I'm going to serve this dish with boiled potatoes, French style, which I've never done a boiled potato. You'll probably get a video about that as well. Also, the onions, if you've been watching the videos at all, you know that the onions are going to be put into this along with my mushrooms that should be cooking. So while 2.5 hours goes by, I'm going to clean up my kitchen, re-prep everything, shoot 2 more videos, which you've already seen, which is the mushrooms and the onions. And then I'm going to come back to you in about 2.5 hours, and we're going to see how this thing's doing. We should be able to add in the remaining ingredients. And you know what? It's time to eat my first truly made by myself French meal. So I want to thank you. Thank you for watching. Bear with me. With the wonderful magical tools of editing, it's not going to be that long. Thank you. Well, welcome back. It's been 2.5 hours now. The Boeuf Bourguignon is out of the oven. The onions are done. Well, actually, the onions are cooking, and we have 3 minutes remaining, which, let's hope that comes together right. I've sauteed the mushrooms. They're sitting on the side. And at this point, we need to complete the Boeuf Bourguignon. And what that's going to be is we're going to render down the sauce. So it's been sitting for a couple of minutes because I've been working on the mushrooms. But let's go ahead and get rolling on this. Ready? Here we go. So, what are we going to do now? First things first, which I can tell I'm going to learn this very quickly, is to find a set of hot pads. Okay, now the Boeuf Bourguignon is done. So we take the lid off. Now what we want to do is we want to strain this out. So what I'm going to do is I have a pot in the sink that has a strainer in it. I'm going to go ahead, pour in that juice like so. And then we're just going to actually plop it all down in there. And get it really good. There you go. Just like that. So now we have an empty pot, and our Boeuf Bourguignon has been moved to this container, which I'm going to set onto the stove for just a second. Now what Julia Child says to do at this point is to take this pot, which is nice and cooked and dirty, and wash it and put the meat back in it. So that's what I'm going to do. Here's what we want to do. We're going to go back over. I'm going to bring back over the Boeuf Bourguignon just for right now, because that's where my camera is. And I'm going to go ahead, make sure all the sauce is out. Alright, now there it is. Oh, that looks delicious, doesn't it? And we're going to dump that right back into the pot. So now all we have is the Boeuf Bourguignon in here. I'm going to put this back on the stove. I'm going to recover it to keep it warm. And we go into the next phase. Now what we want to do here, and you know what I have that's going to work well for this, is you want to get the fat off the sauce. So I'm going to just skim up with a baster here right along the top all this fat. We're basically going to continue on. I have the beef bourguignon here. At this point, what you're going to do is I want to simmer. I have a rolling boil there. We don't want a rolling boil. I see the fat though on top of that sauce. We're going to get to that. You can off to the right or the left. I don't know what you're seeing there. You can see the fat on the top of that. Basically, we can take our mushrooms at this point and we can just put those over the meat. Just like this. Good, nice. And we can come over here with our onions. We're going to roll those right out. Don't really need that sauce. Put those out in there. Boy, those look delicious, don't they? Are you catching that? Oh yeah. A little on the salty side. I may have put too much. Definitely got too much of a boil going over here. So I'm going to turn this down to a simmer. At this point, we need to concentrate on this pot. We need to get the grease off of it. And you can see the grease is puddling around the corners here. We don't want grease. And the sauce should be actually a little bit thicker than it is. So I'm just going to try to get some of this grease off by simmering it. You should have about 2.5 cups of this sauce. Now, it should be slightly thick, and as you can see, it's very runny as a beef stock. So what we're going to do here, once I get this fat off the top, I can be a little more aggressive with it. I have, oh, darn it. I have plenty of stuff underneath it. Is that we want to get all this fat off, and then we're going to bring it to a heavy boil. And we're going to render it down. It might take a while. I got a lot of sauce in here. Okay, I'm going to let this simmer for about 10 minutes. Let some more of the fat rise to the top of it. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to bring it to a heavy boil and try to get that thicker. So I'll be back in about 10-15 minutes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 3:40. I started this journey at 10:30. So it's been a long day. I've rendered down my sauce. I know you can't really see that from there, but you should be able to put a spoon in and get a nice coating. Pretty much do that. At this point, what we're going to do is just pour this sauce right onto right there. That's good. A little bit extra there. Oh, I did make quite the mess, didn't I? Excellent. And ladies and gentlemen, it is done. May I present to you my very first beef bourguignon. Boeuf Bourguignon, if you're Simon. Zoom in here, see what we can get. I'll turn it in. And let's see what this thing tastes like. Now, the finish line. filming, cooking, and everything, 5+ hours. I don't think it would take you that long if you want to cook it at home. I do recommend buying 2 bottles of wine. That way you can drink one while you're working on the other. It's exactly what I'm about to do here. Always enjoy some good wine, some good vino. Oh, that's good. Oh yeah. So I'm starving. Generally this is supposed to be served with like a boiled potato. You can use rice. I'm too tired to cook the potatoes. I've already cooked 3 dishes. So I'm gonna go ahead. There's a big piece of beef. One thing I did, I put the, if you remember when I put the onions on, I'm washing the pans while I'm trying to render the sauce down a bit. And I think, what happened to the herb bag? And I had to go fish through it all. And because it actually turns into a little onion. It looks like a little onion at least. So we're gonna put that up on there like that. Oh yeah, dribble just a bit more juice and yep. Okay. Now this has a heavy onion contingency in it. The meat is just peeling, perfect texture. Honestly, I'm a bit nervous. It's my first dish, my first French dish. I know many of you thought I'd never do it. Oh, I'm gonna stab one of these big old onions. Bon appetit. Oh, that's good. Grab a mushroom. Oh, Julia. Ladies and gentlemen, that was worth every hour. Hope you try this at home. If you do, message me. Let me know how it turned out for you. That's got some flavor. I hope you've enjoyed watching this as much as I've enjoyed cooking it. Bam! Oui, oui. Bon appetit. I don't have a tagline, so I'm going to use other people's. Thank you, and goodbye.